Time Travelers by Garth Dokeen Sacred Taint. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Yay!
It's time for Cast Guidance. I'm Tier the DM, the world's okayest DM, and I have with me, as always, the unruly one, Locke Clark. Hey, Locke. And the Mad, Raph the Mad. What's up, Raph?
Morning, people. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm real good. So, new pain management doctor, new medicines. 10 out of 10 would recommend. All right. So today, guys, we got some stuff to talk about. But before we do that, we got some important stuff to say. First and foremost, we are for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. And now we'll go to the Dice Man, Locke.
So dice. I'm not going to pitch anything specific today. I'm just going to tell you that we're still a few purchases away from being able to get a bunch of free dice to give away to you guys, and you want that to happen. So you're going to go to our link to get to the Level Up Dice website, and you're going to go find something, anything, buy something cheap, and that will help us get to give you free stuff in giveaways on the channel. So you should do that. And that link that you're going to use is https://bit.ly/L, Will of the Dice, all one word. That's bit.ly/LUD, Will of the Dice. The link is in the chat. Go and check it out. Find something, buy it, and we'll start giving away free shit. Also, we would like to thank the musician who provided a theme song for today's show. That is our very own Patrick Taylor. Thanks, Pants.
Thank you, Pants. Characters, gamers, people, ethereal things. Are you on our Patreon? You need to be on our Patreon. This is how you get a hold of content ahead of everyone else before they get it on Spotify or YouTube. This is how you look and listen to after the dice or after the roll as you see what the characters thought of how badly they got screwed by the DM. I mean, how wonderful the game went the night before. That's also how you get in on special polls that help you affect what happens during the campaign. So please get on Patreon, support us, support our endeavors, and we really appreciate when you do that.
Awesome. Right. So, yeah. Back to the top of the something important to say. Fuck the Supreme Court. Guys, I know that emotions are high right now. I know that people feel betrayed. I know people are hurt. People are scared. People are angry. All those emotions are valid. Do not let anyone tell you they are not. You want to fix shit? Vote. Not just federal level, vote state level. Contact your state representative and let them know how you feel. Contact your federal representative, let them know how you feel. The government works for us. They don't control us. And we've got to remind them of that. We've got to take back that power. And the only way to do that is get out and hit those voting booths.
Ooh. Also, write your representatives in Congress, specifically the House of Representatives. Find your representative, write. Get them a bunch of... 4 of the 5 Supreme Court justices who voted to repeal Roe v. Wade, to overturn Roe v. Wade, are impeachable. They're fucking impeachable. Clarence Thomas, I mean, he has done some horribly illegal obstruction of justice shit using the power of his office and should be impeached for it. And the other 3, the 3 Trump appointees, lied during their confirmation hearing. That's perjury, and that is an impeachable fucking offense. Impeach the motherfuckers already. Write to your congressman. Demand that they be impeached for the shit that they did, which was lie before Congress and obstruct justice. So there you go. That's my rant on it.
Yes.
Yes. And if you don't like how things are going now, consider running for office yourself. The local level, there's always uncontested elections at the local level, and that's how it starts. Change starts locally. So get involved locally, step up locally, provide your opinion, contact your people, get out and help, because that's the only way things are going to change.
I mean, they're coming after Griswold next. The Griswold decision, for those who don't know, I'm going to tangent real quick. The Griswold decision was a straight couple challenged the law in Connecticut in 1965, and that law said that married straight couples could not use birth control. That's the law they were fighting. It was not a law against gay people. It was a law that said that straight couples who were married were not allowed to use birth control. And that decision is the linchpin of every decision about the right to privacy that has been made since 1965. They strip that one away, they can strip all of them away.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to move and move now. You need to be writing your Congress people. You need to be using your voice and being active and voting these motherfuckers out and calling for impeachment of the ones on the Supreme Court.
I concur.
Mm-hmm.
Do it. Do the thing. You've got the power.
All right, so
a lovely segue from the Supreme Court to big bad evil guys. Oh wait, that's another thing. We were talking about this. That Venn diagram is a circle.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about the bad guy in your game. How to make them, how to get mileage out of them. How powerful do you make them? We're going to let Raph start us off on this one.
The big bad, the BBEG, big bad evil guy. This could be the arch villain at the end of the campaign. It could be any decent villain along the way who's got a layer that your players are storming. How do you make effective? How do you make them? And what makes a really good one, a memorable one? This kind of came about as I was discussing some things with my players, and we're getting ready to go up against our own BBEG in our Pathfinder campaign, and it's the BBEG we're going after right now is not as emotionally invested as the one we just went after, even though the one we went after was a little less powerful and earlier in the campaign, but he had a much more stronger impact on the players because he was messing with the players and in the campaign at one point. So we had some interactions beforehand. So why does that one feel much more of a catharsis when we finally go after him versus this one now? And that kind of led to this discussion. Well, how do you make a good BBEG? And that's where we're at. So what makes a good BBEG for you, Tier?
The first thing is, are they usable in the story? Like, are they more than just a puppet master orchestrating attacks by different goons? Can I bring them into the story? Can I use them to lead the party astray? Can I have them manipulate situations that the players are in? Can I have them fail to manipulate situations that the players are in? I want my big bad guys to be relatable and hateable.
How about marryable? Don't ask.
He wasn't a big bad evil guy. He was just a moron.
Our last big bad, we were torn between either murdering him or marrying him. We weren't sure. It was a chaotic party. We had choices to make.
I mean, whatever solves the problem, right?
I think we finally decided against them when he kind of screwed with one of our players.
It's like marry, fuck, kill, but you're just talking about one person. You're deciding which option to give them. All right. So I think there are lots of ways to make a good BBEG. And I don't think you have to know your BBEG at the beginning. If you do, it's cool. But if you don't, you can pull off some cool stuff by watching how the party interacts with NPCs, and sometimes you find a spot where you're like, oh, that guy, I can retcon certain things that have happened and make them all lead back to this guy that they've been interacting with along the way, and then make that guy really the BBEG. Or, you can have them sprinkle in, like, Antivar was he wasn't the big bad, but we all hated him so much.
Uh-huh.
And he wasn't even connected to what was actually going on. He was a side quest. But we all hated him. We also all hated Zakez, but Zakez was more the puppet master for these two campaigns. Zakez was actually showed up and it was our friend in a different campaign, which when we found out he was evil was a real blow. When he betrayed us at the end. So getting to fight Zakez for me, the player, at the end was great because he had betrayed a different character of mine. So I still felt very personally invested in fighting Zakez. But yeah, you can take the Marvel approach, as I'm now calling it. It's also the TV approach. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer did it very well, where you introduce the bad guy, and then they sort of show up every once in a while and are responsible for things, but you never really get to interact with them. The other approach that I really like is you've got a low-level bad guy. You've got a bad guy that's kind of the big bad of this arc, and if the players don't manage to kill him, if he gets away, well, now he's the big bad for the rest of the campaign, too. And you have more than one opportunity for that to happen. You see, there are lots of different ways to approach it. And like I said, you don't have to know going in which one you're going to use, unless you do. Sometimes when you're writing a campaign, you just know, like, this guy is the focus of the campaign.
Yeah, like you said, listening to the previous Scions, Anton was the one that had the most catharsis, I think, behind his final demise, because he interacted with the characters enough, and it was enough of a dick when he did, that even the listeners are going, when are they going to actually kill that little bastard? But yeah, that's what made him a memorable character. Zakez, as you said, was very much more a puppet master in the background. They did not have a lot of interaction with the characters throughout the campaign on a personal level. So
No,
but go ahead, Tier.
Well, I was just going to say, and part of that was because of the way Zakez is, the personality I created for them. They were not someone to mingle amongst people, and like, it was pretty obvious from the beginning that, Zakez was in on the fuckery. So it was like, why try to bring him into social situations? They'll just try to kill him and wind up getting TPK'd because they're not ready,
I mean, we had big bads. We had Lilith. We had sorry, his name has escaped me. It starts with an A. I know the Prince of Shadows, the Prince of Angamora. Yeah, and then we had Malacutius. We had Antivar to deal with. We had big bad guys on the ground to deal with, but we knew that we had Dave too, kind of for a while, and then not. But we knew that Zakez was the puppet master pulling the things, which, even though we weren't personally interacting with him, he became Voldemort. He became the boogeyman of the campaign, which is almost more threatening, more, this person who is so far beyond you, you haven't even seen him, but you hear You know these people are all working for him, and they're stupidly powerful, and you have to fight them, and you're having difficulty with them, and he's the one pulling their strings. That makes him scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, having the boogeyman be your BBEG is a very reasonable way to go.
And that's what I was trying for. That's a good way to word it. I couldn't figure out how to word it, but I was trying to give Zakez that boogeyman feel. That, ethereal, you only see glimpses in the night. You don't actually see them until you're up on them,
He's the shark in the first Jaws movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you see the effects of what he's doing throughout the land as you're going. Yeah, it's kind of how my BBEG right now for my fifth ed campaign is working right now. He's the guy behind all their problems, and he's causing problems for everybody. But they can't get to him because he's behind a wall of minions. So speaking of, how do you actually make a BBEG? How do you set up for the BBEG fight?
Well, I have a couple of different schools of thought on this. If you're going the boogeyman route, and like I said, it depends on what you're writing, or if it is a hugely powerful monster that like a demi-lich or something, or a full lich or a Draco lich or whatever is going to be the big end cap on the campaign. Then you create something that is a challenge rating or a high enough level. If they're a character, then they're 20th level character, maybe with some extra cool stuff like a bunch of magic items or whatever. You make them hugely powerful at the start, and then that informs everything else you do, all of the minions you attach to them, and all of that. That's one way to go about creating them. The other way is the sort of the Marvel method. They show up occasionally, and you let them you put them at a level that they are maybe just beyond what the party can handle, and then you advance them as the party advances, and so they get stronger along with the party. And then that way, they always feel like they're kind of in reach for the party, but they've always got a way out, or they've always got plans within plans, and they can keep getting away until the end. Or they start off as an ally and then become the bad guy, whatever. They start really. You either start them really powerful, or you start them just powerful enough and level them with the party, so they just stay ahead of the party. Those are my two schools of thought when I'm starting to write a BBEG, and it depends on which way I'm going story-wise with how the BBEG is going to work.
Yeah, and like the Puppet Master feels like the more of the style that you're going to pick from the start, they're going to be the high-level monster versus one that interacts with the party much more. You can see you doing a progression-style BBEG with them. So they stay just that little bit step ahead of the party. Of course, engineering ways for him to escape the party's wrath every time can get a little entertaining.
Well, and that's why when I make mine, I go ahead and set them at their max level, their max power. And part of that too is because I can even set them 2 levels ahead of my party, but I know that my party rolls well and they work well as a unit. So things that they shouldn't have steamrolled, they steamrolled. I don't want them to steamroll my big bad, at level 5. So I max him out to begin with.
Minions or no minions? That's the question for the fight.
I think there's also the Star Wars sequel trilogy version of the Big Bad. which is, I'll use a lich as an example for this though. The big bad shows up in a form that is less powerful than their true form, and the party fights them and kills them, and then, but they don't know it's a lich, and they don't know that they didn't get the phylactery, and then the lich shows up in its true form and reveals that, oh yeah, that was me back there that you killed. I'm not dead, and good luck. Like that. You can, the party can kill the bad guy and not kill the bad guy.
How dead you have to be to stay truly dead.
Yeah.
Right.
I
I mean, lich has the built-in out of, if they don't know it's a lich and they don't know there's a phylactery.
Mm-hmm.
To answer your question though, it depends on what the boss is. Like, if your boss is like some greater pit fiend, demonic creature, then I can see it having minions. But if it's like a lone psychopathic, uh, fallen paladin, maybe not so much, So I think it depends on each minion whether or not they'll have minions.
Mm-hmm.
I think minions are a great idea. They help make combat more dynamic. They make combat more difficult. Have some stuff that the party can wade through, but they have to spend time wading through it. I think that is a neat idea. And one I think I will use in the future.
More minions. Well, minions, I think, were the original layer action for a lot of the BBEGs in earlier editions. If you think about it, with the introduction of layer actions for your bigger creatures, it gives that extra something else the creature can do outside of the turn to stall the party, to cause difficult for the party. Before that, it was, all right, you got the big bag, and here's a bunch of minions to deal with too, to try and at least keep the players distracted or give them something else to work with or work against. So your big bag lasts a little bit longer than just a straight up tank and spank fight. But
yeah, I think, Cheers, right. It very much depends on what your BBEG is. If you intend for the party to fight the Tarrasque at the end of the campaign, then like the Tarrasque doesn't have minions, but it's going to be a whole fight unto itself. I want to jump back for a second. This is tangentially related, I think. We've talked about this before. The idea that as you level, the scope of what you're facing should change. Levels like 1 to 7 or so, you are fighting sort of on the local level of your world, and then 7 to 12 or so, you should be fighting at sort of a national level, at the the king, fighting for a kingdom to save a kingdom, and then after that, 12 to 15, you are fighting to save maybe a continent, and then after 15, you are fighting to save the world, the whole world, and that's and I really like that sort of idea of progression. You're 1 through 7, you are Game of Thrones. And you're in your little individual kingdoms fighting with things. And then 7 through 12, you're sort of I'm trying to think of a good example. Low level superhero-y. You're, and then once you get past 12, you are the fucking Avengers. And then after 15, you are basically demigods. It's We are golden gods, and then you die because you're a goldfish. Anyway, yeah, that's yeah. So yeah, I think you can scale your BBEGs along that progression, and have a different. I mean, we say BBEG and we mean the end game a lot of times, but there also has to be a BBEG at every arc along the way, and they might not be the biggest, baddest evil guy, but they're still the focus of that part of the campaign, and often lead to the next.
Like Antivar.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ustad mentioned something in chat here. In game, you're running through and find out that your big bad is too strong / weak for your party. Can you fix it in game? Yes. Too weak? Add minions. Add layer actions. Use those legendary instances. Use tactics. Use tactics.
Counterspell heal.
Counterspell. Counterspell revivify. What? But yes, use counterspell. There are ways to make your big bad stronger. Now, the other hand, if your big bad's too strong, that gets a little more interesting because you either have to make a way for him to either walk away from the fight somehow, as in it's not worth him fighting, or a way for possibly the characters to escape. Make it a running fight. The characters have bitten off more than they chew, and now they have to get out before they do get killed. But that's convincing players to run away is a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is. And you can always scale it in mid-fight if you're like, okay, I made this thing way too hard. Let's cut some hit points off of it, and let's dial back some of the damage. We'll take the average damage instead of rolling damage.
Mm-hmm.
That helps some.
Yeah, that comes to the encounter and scaling as you go. If you think things are getting too, because as much as people like to say, oh, that's fine, just total partner white, but is that what you really want a TPK in your campaign for people to have fun with? Depends on the style of campaign you're running too.
Look, TPKs make great stories, and so they are fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm open to it happening, but on the other hand, remember, you're the DM. You can fucking cheat. Let me. Here's an example. Oh, that missed you. What did I roll? Do you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, of course you don't. Nope. Or so that's if you've made the bad guy too hard, he can miss some.
Yep.
He can fail a check at a very important moment.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you've made your bad guy too weak, oh look, he crit. You're the DM. You're allowed to cheat.
Yes.
That's in my written rules of the game of the table. I'm the only one who gets to roll secret dice. For that very reason.
Yeah.
Like to point out, our admin pointed out the original fight from the start of Scions, where Pants was robbed. That could have led to a TPK, but you as the is it really a TPK? Did they really die, or did they just go under 0 hit points, and the BBG just tosses their asses in jail and keeps around for a little bit to torture or something like that? Give them something new afterwards. They're not dead, but they're now without stuff, naked and afraid in a cold dungeon cell.
So, first off, Pants was not robbed. Secondly,
robbed.
Secondly, yeah, I had to think quickly on my feet and have the knights do non-lethal damage, else that was going to be the shortest campaign in history.
And then Pants almost dies to a rat. Yes.
Also, and I think this makes great story. there might come a moment where your BBEG has one of the characters dead to rights. They can kill that character right now, but you don't want to do that. And so having the BBEG do something other than kill that character now makes the party ask why. And if you don't have a good reason why in the moment, that gives you the next week between sessions or whatever time to figure out what the why was. And sometimes answering that question leads to much more interesting things than you had planned for.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they kill them? Did they capture them? Maybe the BBEG believes this person has some bit of knowledge that they need, or they have something they need and can't kill them yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like
or they
those
like
are
monologuing.
right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Who else doesn't like the BBEG? Drop a last minute Deus Ex Machina. Some other power creature, player, whatever shows up and chases the BBG off at the last second. And why?
Or I think this is more fun. This is what I would do in that situation. The BBEG has one of your characters at their mercy at the point of a sword, is about to kill them, and then stops. And instead of killing, takes their action to make a persuasion check to tell the party, I'm not your real enemy. The person who is responsible for all of this evil shit is X. He rolls a nat 20 on his persuasion check.
Mm-hmm. Roll your insight.
And now the party has to, and then while the party is questioning, he pieces the fuck out. The BBEG just leaves. The BBEG showed mercy and gave you another target, and now you have to decide who you believe in that moment. And how does that affect the campaign going forward? BBEGs lie, but you believed this guy, and he showed mercy, so you have some evidence. It's a great way not to kill your party, and to see what happens in the story after that.
The twist. So,
and then you've left yourself open because, if the party decides to go after the other guy, you then get to decide how bad is the other guy. Is the other person a bad guy? Are they a good guy? Will they present evidence that convinces the party that they weren't really evil and that the bad guy is really the bad guy? Or do you pivot and make the bad guy not the bad guy anymore and change it to this other person? You now have options. As a DM, options are fun.
Mm-hmm. Or is it two bad guys?
Right. Maybe they're both bad guys. Maybe they're vying for the same thing and one's pointing you at their rival.
Yep. So,
like I said, options.
Options. Speaking of options, some kind of come up here a little bit. Layer actions, legendary actions. It's kind of a new thing for coming in 5th ed. What makes a good layer action? What makes a good legendary action for your BBEG?
I think what makes legendary actions fun is that they're interrupts. They go off when they can use a legendary action when it's not their turn. So when your character is doing something, you as the DM get to pick that moment where you go, and then I'm going to attack now.
Mm-hmm.
Layer actions happen more on a cycle, and that's just a complication. That's a little chaos thrown into your gameplay. Every round on this initiative number, the place, the cavern you're in trembles with an earthquake and stalagmites fall, and everyone has to make a dex save to stay on their feet, or to if they make it by this much, they stay on their feet. If they make it by this much, or if they fail it by this much, then they get hit by a falling piece of debris or whatever, like, and they take some damage, and now they're prone.
Mhm.
Like, you can one, you should tailor layer actions to the layer, because that's what they are. They're the BBEG with a layer action, or any bad guy with a layer action, is in charge of their space. This is a dragon in its lair with its horde. This is, they have control of this area. This is their home, and so they have home field advantage, and they can use their home against you. You have walked into the Batcave, and Batman is pissed about it. That's so. The Batcave itself is attacking you as well. So layer actions, I think, throw a little complication onto the battlefield, and make things more interesting. But like I said, they happen at a regular interval once a round. Legendary actions are a little more complicated because you can really fuck with your players with a legendary action. And then legendary resistances as a player are just fucking annoying.
What? So, Tyr, what's your favorite? Since you've now finished, 2 campaigns here in theory with this last season, what was one of your favorite legendary actions or layer actions you pulled off?
I love that the what's her name? Lilith had a chance to petrify you on a legendary action.
Ooh.
She was a bad bitch, and so to be able to pull that off after someone attacked her to counterattack and potentially petrify them gave her, a nasty edge. Because it's a numbers game, and if she gets that off once or twice, that changes the board dramatically, especially if she gets it off on someone like Karak, or someone
Absolutely.
that has multiple functions that can heal and can do damage. So yeah. And I think
Yeah,
my favorite lair action was in the volcanoes, where the lava would have change and erupt and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Lilith thing was hard. But at its base, those mechanics they're a balancing agent. Because 5e, the whole of combat is really built around the action economy. And the party is usually winning on action economy against a single BBEG. We're not counting minions right now, Raph. But with the fighting a single creature, no matter what its CR rating is, the party is getting to attack. If you've got 5 members of the party, some of them have 2 attacks per action,
or 4.
They're getting to attack, or 4 more. Yeah, they're getting to attack 5 to 10 times per round, and the BBEG gets to attack twice, 3 times per round, until you add in legendary actions and layer actions, and those give the BBEG a fighting chance in the action economy, because now they have closer to the balance of actions that the party has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it can also lead to using those legendary actions, using those layer actions also allow you to do the hi, it's time for my BBEG to leave now.
Right.
Yep, I'm not going to let you kill off the BBEG today because I need him later. So, deuces. That was one of my in second, no, was a third edition campaign. I set up a BBEG strong enough with the chain contingency spell. So if they didn't have layer actions or legendary actions, he hit a quarter hit points. He cast Fog Cloud, Teleport without air, and then Delayed Blast Fireball. And
That's pretty
as
nasty.
that was a beautiful moment as the flares go, "We've got him!" What? I can't see. And now I'm burning. What the hell? I got yelled at for a while for that one.
All right,
But-
guys, let's go ahead and take our break. I need to use the restroom really bad.
Okay.
All right.
So we'll
Be
be
right
back
back,
in
guys.
10 minutes, guys. We're going to get our beverages of choice, our snickety snacks, and we'll be right back. Yakety yak, don't talk back. back. Thanks so much for hanging out while we got our beverages of choice, our stickety stacks, and handled things. Today we're talking about the big bad evil guy. We're sort of all over the place. That's my fault. I am very tired. I haven't slept much. The new meds have me kind of loopy. So thank you for bearing with me today as I get adjusted to the new meds. So you was talking about legendary actions and lair actions before we went on break, and then I know, Raph, you did some research while on break.
Yeah, I was digging through kind of what does the actual monster manual say about legendary actions, and essentially, legendary actions can be taken at the end of any other player's turn. A creature only gets so many legendary actions a turn, and it refreshes the number of legendary actions it take every turn. So it may only get 2 per turn, so it could take 2 legendary actions that turn, essentially. Or it could take a super legendary action that costs 2 actions to take, depending on the creature. So there's a bit about
some creatures have a recharge on their legendary actions. You got to roll a d6 and it'll recharge on a 5 or a 6. And that's important because it's like you've got to know when to use the legendary action to cause the most chaos to your party, but you don't want to hold on to it forever and then never get to use it, and you don't want to use it too soon and then it not recharge. So
it's a balancing act, and sometimes you fall off the balance beam. But I was also looking at layer actions, and those are taken at the end of the turn or the top of the initiative order, depending. But then it said something about regional effects. I'm going, what? So apparently, if you got a super strong, powerful creature, it's like say a Tarrasque, it causes regional effects. They dissipate when the creature dies. I'm going, duh, but okay. But it led me down a pathway of what makes a good BBEG. Did you just let loose? During your adventures, did you let loose Godzilla at the end? And you're now fighting the big monster, and it's warping reality around it as it goes. So what happens when you take them out? And slowly the effects go away. Or do they?
So jumping back real quick to a point that you made, the legendary actions. Some creatures and bad guys have multiple attacks per round. I know some of the creatures we fought with Tyr, they had 2 claw and a bite, or a claw, a tail, and a bite, or whatever. So that's 3 attacks, plus if they have 2 legendary actions, that's the equivalent of having 5 attacks in a round. And 3 of them go off on their turn, but then 2 of them they can use whenever. And then if they have a layer action on top of that, that is effectively a 6th attack during the round, which helps, as I said before, with the action economy and giving them a fighting chance against a party that might have 5 to 10 actions per turn. So you've got that, and then the regional effects if you're fighting something really big. I mean, you got to imagine. I haven't read what all is encompassed with the regional actions or the regional effects, but like the Tarrasque is big enough that if it shows up in your world, it's probably causing its own weather system at the least, which could throw things into chaos around the area the Tarrasque is in. Or if your BBEG is something from another plane that has shown up on this plane and is big enough and powerful enough, it could be, this great elemental thing, Lord of the Fire plane shows up on the material plane, and just the energy and power of them being on this plane is causing, fucking fire tornadoes or some shit. and that's going to have a lasting effect on the area, which could be flavor down the road. One of the things we haven't talked about, and I was saving this for the B segment of the show, is we talked about having the boogeyman. We talked about having the BBEG that sort of shows up periodically and kind of levels along with the party. What we haven't talked about, and I think is an interesting choice that doesn't get used enough, is having the player's own actions, the consequences thereof, be the big bad at the end. Having the things they do, that they cause the BBEG and then have to fix it. Which is something that happened in DQSR. We let Malacutius out.
Whoops.
And then had to deal with that. And then we killed Malacutius, and that caused other problems that we had to deal with. So, it's, we had to let him come back to life to save the world, but what consequences does that have down the road? That's 3 sets of consequences, all stemming from Garbo saying yes to the voice in his head. That one action by a player has caused a chain of consequences that are now, in a lot of ways, part of the BBEG of the campaign, or could be the BBEG of the next campaign. And so it is always compelling to let your players' consequences come back to haunt them and make them responsible for their own battle at the end. Kind of almost makes the party the BBEG, if you think about it.
Some ways.
That's an interesting take.
Don't give to your ideas. As we get ready to start the next campaign.
Like I haven't already thought about it.
Uh-huh.
Going to chat, Rudolph Movo brings up a very good point that when you look at the CR ratings in the Monsters Manual, those are defined by a party of 4. So if you have larger parties than a party of 4, you do need to make some adjustments, maybe give an extra legendary action to the BBEG, that sort of thing. Because the CRs are based on a party of 4 at that level. So, and most people play with party 6. So that's something to be mindful of.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the balancing act. I think we lost Locke.
I think we did.
Locke, come back. We miss you. Kinda. Mostly.
Lucky come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Rudolph also talks about the Beholder, which is everyone's favorite BBG. And then maybe once Locke gets back, we ask him what his favorite BBE creature is. He seems to like liches a lot when he talks about BBEGs. So, Tyr, do you have a creature you kind of think is your go-to?
Well, I did in the Scions and DQSR. It was the Umbrakai. They were my favorite to go to because they were versatile and they could put up a really challenging fight.
Yeah.
I don't have one out of the Monsters Manual that's like, this is my go-to. And we'll be right back as we wait for Locke.
Yep, Tech Gremlins.
And we're back. Guys, this is going to be a short episode today. I'm having troubles adjusting to the new meds, and I need to lie down for a few.
And I'm
But-
having tech gremlins.
Tech gremlins.
So, we do want to say thank you guys for hanging out with us while we did talk about BBEGs. Next Friday, Locke, I don't think you will be here. You'll be here next Friday. It's the
I'll
Friday.
be here next Friday.
Okay. Next Friday, we will have a genuine, better discussion on creating and dealing with the big bad evil guy.
Mhm.
So that'll give me time for the medicine to adjust. And so until then, let's remind people who we are, where they can find us, and let's get the hell out of here.
Right, greetings, gamers. I have been Raph the Mad, and I enjoyed speaking to you tonight. And you can find me at BOK Dragon 13,000 on Twitter.
Hi, gamers. I'm still Locke Clark, and remember to write your representatives, impeach the motherfucking court already, and you can find me on Facebook at Locke Unruly, as well as on Twitter. And catch you next time.
And I'm Tier the DM, the world's okayest DM, and you can find me on Tier_the_DM on Twitter. And till next time, remember, guys, if someone doesn't know, don't cast aspersions. Cast guidance. Love you guys.
Buddy.